Hello, welcome to Robin the Inwit. Welcome to the Inwits, chatting about Survivor. I've got a little bit of time, so I'm going to try and polish off this episode, Australian Survivor, episodes 21 and 22. And then after I wrap up on this, I'm going to go straight into finally getting a bit of chance to recap American Survivor. I'm 3 episodes behind, but we'll get to that very shortly, within, I'd say, half an hour or so. So we'll do back-to-back streams. Anyway, we are near the very end of Australian Survivor Blood vs. Water, which I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if it's a shame that we're near the end, because I hate when Survivor ends, or if it's a blessing, because this has been a bit of a slog this last half of the game, which does suck quite dramatically that we haven't really seen much progress in the evolution of strategy, I guess, is what we could probably call Australian Survivor, is lacking quite heavily of the evolution of strategy. We don't seem to get much. It's unfortunately, as much as Geordie was a big player in the later half of this season, him taking the chance to blindside Sandra really destroyed the end game, because we lost anyone. We lost Sandra, we lost Nina, we lost anyone worth playing for, and everyone else was a big macho boy hanging out in their safety net, and whoopee-doo, nothing seemed to happen. Obviously, as we talked about last week, KJ got that advantage, which really was able to shake up the gameplay to some extent, to give us some form of maybe an amusing and exciting and entertaining episodes a couple of weeks ago. But unfortunately, after that, we kind of fall straight back into the next two episodes, 21 and 22, that seem to be still barely struggling with a bit of a pulse. They haven't completely flatlined, but it seems to be the common consensus that so far, unfortunately, for what started out as a potentially super strong season, it's really petered away to nothing, unfortunately. So anyway, what we see the ramifications of Sam going out. We have the next person to go out is Juicy Dave, surprisingly. He seems to come into play a little bit more prominently near the end. He started to be a bit more vocal and started to really, I guess, understand the game a little bit more than he did for not having any knowledge of the game. And to be honest, quite likable in the end. Like we saw a little bit, and we haven't seen anything for a while for him. But for me personally, he ended up becoming a little bit more likable. I had that little moment when he does get voted out and talks about how he was doing this for his daughter, Brianna. I can kind of like, that's, sweet niceness there. Great. Lovely. But he goes home, which was surprising. It was surprising to see Dave go home over Geordie. I don't understand the point of taking out Dave. I completely understand the point of taking out Geordie. Geordie is the only one who's really been forced to play a more aggressive and in-your-face style game. This is not to take anything away from Mark's game. Mark's game is still, I believe, deserving of the win. However, being in so much control for so long, it's kind of boring, and he doesn't really give us. He's no Dave, he's no Dave with his multitude of idols and giving us really enjoyable confessionals. He is a bit more boring to watch, but that doesn't mean he hasn't played a good game. I think he's played an amazing game, and I don't understand his logic for thinking that Dave was more of a threat at this moment than Geordie was. Dave is clued on to the nice little moment that we see Geordie on the reward challenge make that play to Shay. Shay probably would have gone as long as she could go. Geordie probably would have gone as long as he could go. He said he had plenty left in the tank. However, he decides, I'm not going to win this. I'm going to opt for a bit of a deal being struck and go on the reward regardless if we let Shay win. Shay, in turn, has promised KJ and Chrissy that they're going to go on the reward together if one of them all wins. In the end of the day, it was really only Shay that was going to be able to compete for this. KJ may have. I mean, she's done some sort of. She's come pretty close in a endurance challenge before, once off. But Chrissy, she wasn't going to win, so all was kind of left for Shay, and this in turn builds a little bit of a negative vibe for Shay, as she's promised. She's made this promise, and that promise has now had to be, oh, well, didn't have to be. She's chosen to let go of the promise because she doesn't want to compete for another 20, 30, 40, 50, who knows, 2 hours on this podium against Geordie and Josh. Instead, why not just agree to take them? Chrissy says it's a $500,000 mistake. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is a $500,000 mistake. Only because we have. I just don't think she could win. Depending on who she gets, if she goes against, say, a Chrissy or a KJ, maybe she wins. Against Mark, she doesn't win. Against Geordie, nobody wins. Against Josh, she could, depending on final tribal, how she words it, she could win. And that's to say if we get a final two. I think we're still getting a final two, but over on Reality Pop, Riley is convinced or is assuming we might be getting a final three. I don't know anything about that. I stay out of the loop for all the spoilers, and I don't stay. My ear is not to the ground when it comes to keeping up to date with all things Survivor. Unfortunately, I just love the show. I just watch the show. I just talk about the show. So there might be a final three. Who knows? But if it was same format, if we do have final two, Shay definitely doesn't beat Mark or Geordie. It doesn't matter. Geordie's out of the game, and she might potentially beat Josh, except Josh has started to really ramp up with those immunity wins and still being a bit vocal and having a bit more sway in who gets voted out. Whereas right now, Shay is just a passenger from what we're seeing, which is a bit of a shame. So Mark, anyway, going back a bit, Mark thinks Juicy Dave is more of a threat than Geordie because of that one little catch of him going, well, Geordie's really clever. For Dave going, Geordie's so smart, all of a sudden made Mark go with, well, Dave's got to go. Dave probably could do a nice little bit, and he could have potentially pulled some votes at the end. But I still don't understand the logic. At the moment, there is only one winner if that person stays in, and it's Geordie. Geordie and Mark could be a close call, but I still think Geordie, being the underdog for so long, trying to make some more out there moves, I think he would still outdo Mark, even though I think Mark's played a very, very good game. Anyway, that happens. They go have their day spa. Geordie, Josh, and Shay have a bit of a clean. Back at camp, the wheeling and dealing is getting done, but not really. The only thing is the Geordie versus Dave. Dave falls short. Dave assumes he has the votes. And this is possibly for Geordie. If I think about Geordie right now, I think maybe this is where I've been trying to think how Geordie gets out of this situation, how Geordie doesn't get voted out. And it is virtually impossible unless he wins individual immunity, which he does not, and in turn goes home. But right now we've got, at this point, at this moment where he goes for Dave versus Geordie, I have a feeling he might have been better off trying to pitch one of the girls, trying to band the boys together, start this seed. I don't know if it would have worked. I don't know if it could have worked. Josh and Chrissy are pretty close. It seems to be. Chrissy is untouchable if you want to go work with Josh. Maybe because Josh wants to take her to the end, the smart move probably should be able to outdo Chrissy if he gets to the end with anyone. Like Chrissy hasn't known the game. She's learnt the game on the fly. She would be considered possibly a GOAT, even though she's very entertaining and she's played a great social game, a very enjoyable social game anyway for us watching at home. I don't know how great it is online, or not online, on during the game. But from what we see, she's played a pretty good social game. Her strategic game has been a bit flawed. Her physical game has not been there. So she only really has one of those three pillars. And personally, I think if you are going to come out and become Soul Survivor, you need to have two strengths of the three. You need to be strategically well played and socially well played, or strategically and physically. You have to have two of the three. One of them is not going to cut the mustard. And I don't think Chrissy has enough. So in the case of Geordie, I think Geordie really needs to focus on, at this point, taking out the GOATs. When you've put yourself in such a strong situation, again, it's impossible for Geordie. The very next day, Juicy Dave goes home. The very next time, Geordie goes home. But Geordie does this one. Geordie has a Hail Mary this time, which is to try and take out Shay. He goes to Mark, his nemesis, the Batman to the Joker. He goes in and he has that one pitch of going, look, I know you've got the idol. This is just you and me talking. I know it's there. I know you want to keep it for one last vote if you can. Why don't we band together? And take out Shay. So at this point, we've got 3 females, 3 males. I think that's a great pitch. It's like it was a Hail Mary, and he's done a lot of Hail Marys, and he survived this long. I think there could have been another element to this pitch. I think at that moment, what he could have done is potentially, I don't know if this would have worked. I don't think it would work just because of how much of a threat he is. And I was unable to remove that threat level. But then bring in Josh and say, look, if you get Josh and Mark, if you get rid of me, you two, it's one after the other. The 3 girls band together. 3 versus 2. If Mark doesn't win an idol, Josh goes home. If Josh wins, Mark goes home. You are now only relying on the idols to get you through, because those 3 girls, they're not winning against either of you. They can't. That's the only pitch I think in that moment Geordie could have done to potentially save himself. I can't think of anything else he could have done, unless he started this male-female. Male-female. Sorry, that should be muted. Oh well. I'll buy myself a slab. Male-female alliance when Dave was around. If he started to plant the seeds of that early, I think he may have been able to really pitch that a little bit more, or he could have still even got rid of Dave at that point, but at least pitch it to Josh and Mark, get them thinking about that potential later on. He doesn't, he goes home, and now we're left with our final 5 going into the last week of Survivor next week. We've got Mark, Josh, Chrissy, KJ, and Shay. So right now, KJ has that one move. She has got that one little secret advantage that she played very well. You can buy your viewers a slab. Oh, sure, Pat. I'll buy you a slab, but you don't drink, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I will not. I'll buy you a slab of water. I know that's probably more what you want to watch, or what you'd probably drink. Anyway, I would assume KJ, even though she has that one little strategic play that came from a gift, came from getting that secret advantage, and she played it very well. That's really all she has. I mean, what else she has is she's been saying that, I've been wanting to play this game and I haven't been allowed to play this game. So, and I don't believe that. Sure, the idols were in the hands of the majority alliance. And sure, this poor casting of Australian Survivor, which means we have to have this alliance that takes you all the way to the end, unfortunately, which really, really sucks and allows no gameplay. I feel with that, in that case, she could have tried a little harder. She could have tried, there is no way that you wanted to play and you can't play. There's something you can do. There's some sort of chaos you can bring up. And we watched Geordie. Geordie has been throwing chaos after chaos after chaos. He's just been throwing a lot of chaos balls out there all over the place. And it kept him in the game for 11 extra days. Sure, KJ isn't in any position to need to play these games, to need to throw the chaos to get herself off the bottom. She's just there. She's just a number. She's expendable. And more often than not, now where she sits, you probably want to play against her at the end. So I don't think she can win with that one move. Shay, in the early days, Shay was looking fairly strong. She's a very competitive beast. However, that little bit of time on purgatory without any food and sleeping on the concrete or whatever, the rock that was like concrete, I feel she hasn't been able to just compete against a Geordie since or a Mark. So unfortunately, the one strength that she had, that physical pillar, has kind of dissipated post-merge. She was also voted out. KJ was also voted out. So, I mean, it happens before. Kirsty Bennett and Haley from last season, both of them have won Australian Survivor from being voted out. So it's very easy to do. I just don't think Shay has done enough strategically. She's had it. She's had a power. She had that moment too. You know what? She could have probably not listened to Geordie, taken the girls with her and started to really form that girl strong alliance. But she didn't. So I don't think she can win. Chrissy, an enjoyable presence, an enjoyable character, especially in the early parts of the season. But you know, you can only say, you can only use her silliness and not understanding the games so many times throughout. I think the last time we got her crazy Chrissiness was when she was talking about purgatory, which wasn't that long ago, to be honest. But yeah, she's been fun. She's made some friends, but strategically hasn't really got anything to a resume other than sitting on the bottom and enjoying being on the bottom. So if I'm there on the jury, I can't award that winner. So that leaves you with Josh and Mark, depending on either of them getting to the end. If they weren't to win immunity, those two were the first to go, and you should have a final three, all girls, and then Shay takes her if she wants to take. Shay takes her if she wants, because she probably wins the endurance challenge and moves into the final two, if there is a final two and we haven't switched to final three. Josh has started to really pick up, and that's not his fault. That's the edit's fault. We understand Australian Survivor's edit has been appalling. The casting has been appalling. There's a lot of problems with Australian Survivor aside from the actual game. The game's great. We could take away the twist, but that seems to be a reality TV thing that we need to throw in there, and I'm okay with it if we have great casting. And now, as we can see, great screen time. Josh hasn't had much. He had a little bit more coming towards the end, and I started to feel a little bit more for Josh when he found out he's going to be a dad. That was the thing that was like, oh, what a beautiful thing to play for. Now he's won three individual immunities in a row. This sort of stuff is important for him going forward. He has been seen as the leader, not because he wanted to be, not because he decided to be, because Mark, clever Mark, said, I wanted Josh to be seen as the leader. So Josh might think he's the leader, but there's been a puppet master behind, which has been Mark. If he plays Mark, Mark should beat Josh. But Josh can say, I've been leading this tribe. He definitely can, because he technically has. He's been in charge of a lot of the votes. He's been behind a lot of votes. He was part of that swing vote that got Sam out. He does have a resume. He hasn't really burnt any bridges. He even tried, even though he was trying to get rid of Sam, he did want to also keep Sam at the same time. So that was a really important element for his game. As far as a likable person for the jury, a non-bitter tribe, a non-bitter jury to vote him to win. Some physical wins under his belt, some good individual immunity wins, and even Chrissy helping him out, even though he probably would have won anyway, but Chrissy helping him out with that final win shows how liked he is, shows the social bonds he's played. So he does tick all three boxes in the grand scheme of things and put up a pretty good case. However, Mark, just for someone who looks like a mountain, who's an ex-SAS, as he says, a trained killer, to be such a physical threat in the early days of the show, who literally outdid the other physical beast every single time, because all that matchup was Mark and Croc, the rugby player. Mark smashed him every game. No one brought up his physical power. No one said he was a physical threat. No one wanted to get him out for his physicality. This is someone who really, really managed to completely remove their threat right from day one. He has been playing a phenomenal game, albeit boring to watch. And when you're in control and you have two idols, you don't actually need to play an idol aggressively. You don't. I get it. He could have played idols aggressively earlier on, but once he got that strong six alliance and no one wanted to go for him, and Sam stole the other idol and he ended up subtly taking it off Sam as well. They definitely probably talked about it, whatever. But two idols, individual wins for someone who's a returning player. Returning players shouldn't get this far. the new players are idiots to let returning players get this far. Like there was what, 3, not including Sandra, 3 Australian returnees, Andy, Sam, and Mark, I think, off the top of my head. Andy was gone straight off the bat. Sam and Mark were left, who were voted out in their first season as being a power couple, were allowed to be a power couple for 30, 40 days before Sam was gone. Mind-blowing. Mark has such a big case for the win here. The only downside he could have, in my opinion, is potentially a bit of jury holding Sam's stolen idol from Jesse, holding that against him. Geordie left the game with a lot of respect and didn't seem to hold any negativity for Jesse's idol being stolen. Jesse's Geordie's brother, for those who are playing along at home. No resentment there. However, we do see, if you do watch those little clips, and it's the only one I did watch, was Sam's eviction, or Sam leaving the island. I keep calling it the island. Sam leaving the game and going to Jury Villa and being met by Jesse, who is still feeling very, very sore that he gave her the idol, she backstabbed him and blindsided him and got him out that very next vote. But you know what? Jesse gives Sam the idol so she can hide it on the way back in, so it doesn't look like a bulge in his pants. Why does Jesse not get it back off her when they get back to camp? That's on Jesse. But anyway, the only thing that could go wrong for Mark is potentially the tribe not liking the move Sam made and falling it into, and Sam and Mark being a married couple, her mistake, or her not mistake, but her aggressive gameplay that I probably wouldn't have done because of jury management might roll over to affect Mark. I don't know if it will. I'm pretty sure Mark is the winner. And I've been pretty sure since day one, which is the first time ever I've kind of gone, this person's going to win. So go me. After 22 years of watching this show, I've picked a winner pick from the first episode. If Mark wins, he might not win still. But yeah, he's in good shape. So we'll see what happens. Next week is the final week of Australian Survivor. I am hopeful we get a bit of a reset. I'm hopeful the production listen to the fans, listen to the problems that they have, and we've seen the problems addressed in American Survivor 42, they've done an amazing job of showcasing everybody and giving them all a fair edit. And I was really worried about season 42, which I'm about to finish this stream up and start talking about 42 anyway. Australian Survivor really needs to learn from that and see how they're going, see that unique, interesting casting people, and also casting people that will clash. Australian Survivor, we don't really have a villain. I know people are going to call Sam a villain because she did her one idol move. However, that's not it. That's not a villain move. We need some. I want to see someone who's going to cause chaos in the tribe. I want to see someone who's going to. I want to see, and for those of you who know that the Anne Marie, oh my God, Marianne. Oh, how have I forgotten her name? Crazy Colombian who tips the rice all over the place. From like 10 seasons American ago, or 12 seasons, 15 seasons. What is her name? I'm not going to Google it, but her. We need more of that. We need people we need Sandra burning Russell's hat, even though originally Sandra to me was a hero and got slumped onto the villain's tribe, but then embraced her villainness. We need people who are going to clash on the tribe, and they want to get each other out, and they're going to their personal views on the world are opposite. And that's what we get with Survivor. And we get a lot of drama and a lot of tension. Whereas here we have everyone who's a celebrity or an Instagram model or whatever they are, or they don't know the game, or they're very, very loose fans. And no, that's not her. No, I'm gonna have to Google her. Hold on, I will find her. Crazy Survivor contestants. I really need to be able to remember everything. Coach Abby Maria. Yes, her. That's who I want. Abby Marie. The crazy Colombian. Really, really want her back. Or we need something like that in this season or in Australian Survivor. We need to shake up our casting. I'm really, really worried. I'm really, really worried that because of this, Australian Survivor is going to go an all returnees season. We don't need that. We had two champions versus contenders, which half of them were celebrities. And then we had Brains versus Brawns, which we still had a fair few celebrity people in there. We had our All-Stars, which was season 5, which was a returnee season. We don't need any more returnees. I'm afraid the only returnee thing that could potentially happen and could potentially be a really, really great moment for Australian Survivor is what every Survivor fan actually really wants is Australia versus US. I mean, we did see a couple of things of JLP and Jeff Probst together in an Instagram photo with I think there might have been a little hint, and there's a couple of hints floating around that we will see it one day. Hopefully not the next season, or in the next 5 seasons, because I really want to get on the show so I could have a chance to compete against the Americans. But I'm worried that they might want to pull that card out of the hat, and it'd be an epic pull off. Like if we could get Boston Rob, if we could get, look, I would love an Aussie, a Malcolm, a Parvati, a Cirie, a Tony. I mean, you get Sandra back, you get Nina back, opposite teams again. We keep Nina. I don't care. Australian challenges plus US format, old format. I don't want the new 22-day format. Pat, or 29 days. I really, really think we need to keep it back, bring American Survivor back to 39 days. I get quarantine has shortened it. COVID has changed things, and I do hope they go back. But I think you take the best elements from the Australian Survivor, the best, and the Australian challenges. We do challenges better than anyone else. Although some of the American challenges in this current season haven't been too bad whatsoever. Like they've been really, really good. Oh, Tracy. Thank you. I hope I get on the show. I've been hoping since I was 12 years old. Killing me. Channel 10 don't listen to me. I understand, but still, let me play. Anyway, I might wrap up Australian Survivor because I'm now starting to talk into American Survivor. I'm going to stop this broadcast. I'm going to reset up and start talking about the 3 episodes of American Survivor that I've missed. I'm going to start talking about that in around 3 minutes. Thank you for jumping on. I'll be back in 2 seconds, pretty much here, same place, just a different show, and doing the same thing all over again. I will see you shortly. Thanks for tuning in. Maybe you'll be there in the next episode. We'll see. The weird, awkward moment of ending the broadcast happens now.